music didn't. I didn't choose music. It chose me. Me.
Yo, everybody. Welcome to the Village Perspective Podcast. I'm your girl, Bianca Michelle. And this is episode, I forget what number we're on, but the episode is entitled Black and Organized. You know, we've been doing our Black series, Black and Creative, Black and Crazy, or Am I? Black intersectionality and vulnerability, and the times that we are navigating and the times that are soon to be upon us, in my mind, call for us to be organized. So today, that's where we landed. Just to remind the people what the Village Perspective Podcast is, we are a digital discussion podcast where we seek to edify the perspective of the village. I have guests here. Many of them are friends, fellow villagers. We do similar work or are aligned with similar perspectives. And I think that there are things that come up when we commune together that I want to share with the broader village, because I feel like it is our perspectives and the shifting of our perspectives that will shift our mind states and our manifestations, and ultimately the way that we develop our communities and neighborhoods. So that's what this space is. It's meant to be a space that is welcome and open to these perspectives. So we're going to get right into it today. So today I have with me Miss Aleena Starks. So Aleena is, she's a lot of things. She's an organizer. She's an intellectual. She is a daughter, a friend. Some might consider her to be, or I would describe it, I'm not going to say what other people, I'm going to speak from my perspective, an impactful agitator, someone who's seeking to be curious and question things. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to allow Aleena, Ms. Starks, to unmute herself and introduce herself to the people. So tell the people who you are.
Sure. What's up, everyone? First, thanks off Bianca for having me on Village Perspective. I'm super excited about being here. Again, my name is Aleena Starks, and yes, I am a neighbor of Bianca's. I live in the Buckeye neighborhood, and for about 3 years now, in a home that my stepfather owns. So it's nice to be in a place that is so familiar. And I am. I guess we're going to talk about a little bit of exactly who I am, what I'm trying to do.
We're going to talk about a lot. Yeah, we're going to get to it.
Yep, Aleena Starks, Cleveland, born and raised. Probably not.
So before we get into the commentary and the things we're going to talk about today, because we're going to talk about a lot, I typically like to ground these conversations in some gratitude. So like, let's uplift some positive things together. I specifically did not do my full-blown 3 moments of gratitude this moment because I wanted to save some of this gratefulness for when we were together and we could do it together. So if it's cool with you, we're going to start there. Is that cool?
Let's do it.
All right. So for those that are new time listeners, 3 moments of gratitude is just a practice that I created for myself. and ultimately realized I wanted to share with community. I wanted to create some common unity around the practice of showing and expressing gratitude. So it's really simple. All it is one, two, three things that you're grateful for. And you jot that down for your own personal reflection. You like, share, and subscribe to this video. You get active in the comments. The whole point is for us to be intentional, about identifying the things that we're grateful for. So I'm going to get right into mine. So first and foremost, I am always grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for my inhale and my exhale. We're going to do that 2 more times together. So I invite you to breathe in with me and breathe in for a count of 4 and hold it. And then push that breath out as slowly as is comfortable for you. So let's inhale together right now. Inhale, hold it, and exhale. This is our last collective breath. Let's make it count. Inhale as deeply as is comfortable for you and slowly push that breath out. Let's inhale together. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it and exhale. I'm grateful for my breath because it lets me know I'm alive. Secondly, I am grateful for connecting with new neighbors. Not only did we get a chance to connect today or earlier this week, Aleena, I had an opportunity to meet up randomly with another neighbor at Umbar today where I was grabbing some lunch. And we sat outside and talked for an hour and a half. And it was so fruitful because this person is a business owner. They're a resident. They're a full-time nurse. And I'm not even going to say who they are because they're going to be on the podcast. So we just going to keep that in the back pocket. But I'm grateful for those moments of connection that are authentic, organic, and fruitful. And then lastly, I'm grateful for old friends. They say you don't, make new friends, but keep the old. And I'm supremely excited for the opportunity to connect with one of my oldest friends from high school who pulled up on me today. So we're going to get to spend some quality time together. And they are meeting and communing with my dog right now as we record. So I'm appreciative of them having that solo bonding time. So those are my 3 things. I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with neighbors and new friends at local Black-owned businesses. And then thirdly, the opportunity to create and maintain space for old relationships that have weathered the test of time and continue to sow into those. So those are my 3 things, Aleena. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to invite you to express some gratitude to the people. So tell them what you're grateful for.
Great. Let's see. I'm really grateful for the sun. The sun gracing us with all day, hours until 8 o'clock. I'm a summer baby. I love like the natural sunlight. I love like not having to rush home because once winter hits, like as soon as it's like 6 o'clock, it's like, oh, okay, it's time to go to bed or what's going on here. So I'm happy that the sun is out. We've got great weather. So that's a blessing. I'm also grateful for just my family and my mother and grandmother and grandfather, whose prayers sustain me, who lift me and hold me. And I'm just forever thankful to have such a strong family unit. And lastly, I'll join you in the friendship, in the community, in the neighbors, in the new, old, and those friendships that are really like showing up out of nowhere lately, especially for me. Like I've been reminded that I do have some strong friends in my corner, and sometimes I, may feel like everyone's just busy doing their own thing, but it's nice to know that I do have a group of people that care about, speak with, share with, love with. So yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Those are my things.
I love them. I love them. I love them all. And again, folks, Village, this was just a practice and an opportunity for us the 2 that are gathered here to collectively show some gratitude. But as you're tuning in and staying tapped in, we want you to participate in this practice with us. Get active in the comments as we continue to have our conversation. Tell us what you're grateful for. Not for only your own reflection, but you showing gratitude encourages somebody else to model that behavior. So thanks for being an example. I'm thanking you all in advance for being an example of how we can show and express gratitude. So let's get to this conversation that we're gonna have, and this is gonna form organically because we just gonna be, two beautiful Black women conversing. That's what we're gonna do right now. We're just gonna talk. But there's a lot about you that I just learned, and I feel like so much of it is valuable to other people. I know I'm grateful for having a little bit more insight into who you are. But a lot of who you are is, and I don't say this negatively, because some of my favorite writers and poets often comment on the political. Specifically, Audre Lorde says the personal is political. So there's a lot that you were able to share with me that was personal, but had a really embedded political perspective. And I love to talk about, your evolution of your politics now and how you've gotten to the belief system that you're navigating. And that is certainly ever evolving, but just give me a little light on that.
Yeah. Thankfully you brought up Audre Lorde. So
that's my. Didn't I give you? Didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got some reading to do. I've got so much reading. But
I didn't give homework. I just gave information, y'all. It was just information.
Yeah, no, it is for not homework. No, it'll be a joy. So yeah, the fact that Audre Lorde spoke to the personal being political is something that has really been helping me as navigate politics, my identity within politics, and the spaces that I choose to be active in. So to kind of back up from that a bit, I wasn't really raised super politically. I know my parents voted, like waiting in the car with them, or sometimes going in and they conversations about who we're voting for, why. The first time I actually noticed politics, I guess specifically, was when Obama ran. And I volunteered for him. I was in high school at that point, and then when we were helping people navigate the Affordable Care Act. And at that point, I realized there's just a huge disconnect between policies and the community. And so really have no idea about what policies affect them, where, when, how and why. So I really started to enjoy being that bridge that kind of connects the information from the government or particular policy or the organization to that family. So from there, I went on to do some organizing with some labor unions, some progressive organizations that were supporting like Sherrod Brown, or um, when Jeff Johnson ran for mayor here, I was on that campaign. And I really enjoyed educating the community, neighbors, people who just have a and rightfully we have a lot going on in our lives, and a lot of people don't have the privilege to unpack all of the all of the policies that are happening to them. So, that kind of led me to meeting some community leaders, which led me to at this point it was the district organizer of the Communist Party. So I started, kind of blew him off for probably probably a year, because I'm like, I don't feel like going to a meeting. So I ended up probably a year after meeting him, started going to some meetings and really kind of learning that sound, and also the Communist Party seems to be on the right side of history. They influenced like even the NAACP when it came to like the Scottsboro case, and really just civil rights. They were leading a lot of causes, and we have so many famous Black people higher that are communists or at one point identified as communists, such as W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, Paul Robeson, and of course Angela Davis. So that was almost enough for me. Um, so Communist Party kind of was like playing around with that a little bit, but what really solidified like me understanding that I was a little bit more radical than just like a Democrat is I was working for the establishment, so to speak, and I that they were not really trying to do all of the necessary steps to inform the community of what they needed to know to make a sound decision and who to vote for, or just it was like easy thing. The ball was just dropped constantly, and um, it didn't have to be. You know, like the solutions were very visible, very attainable, and yet I don't know. I think people were just comfortable in the way that things were going because, you know, some people, you know, once you reach a certain point, you kind of forget that other people may not be there yet or still need some assistance in learning. And, you know, information is not always so accessible.
Right.
Um, so all of my struggles with this establishment was just, I was like, okay, for me, like these are not my people. So that kind of led me to kind of get a little bit more in CPUSA. And so at this point I've been elected to the national committee. I'm like on the state board. We started a podcast called The Spectre where we try to uh, make like heavy theory more accessible and talk about race, culture, and class in a very organic way. Um, so so that's, I mean, oh yes, so that's me politically to an extent. But at this point, like I mentioned to you the other day, I'm really given this whole like given Bernie's race twice and Biden and Trump, everything going on. I'm really kind of turned off to the whole electoral process, and um, really, I'm just about. I'm trying to be about more deliberately of community building and um, education. So we have a ton of power, and I think we notice more than ever, given the pandemic, because you know all of these issues like capitalism is kind of failing around us, and I think people are kind of finally recognizing that it's never been um, a system that is vested in our interest as a people, whether you're black, white, whatever, you know, like working class, capitalist class. So people are kind of understanding that dynamic. So I'm trying to get in there and like really help break down all of these barriers that the capitalist class has put there to divide us and to kind of strip away our powers. So that's where I'm at right now, learning how to get in there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And honestly, I feel like you said something, you said a lot in there. Like I want to go back and touch on Spectre in a second, but really, I think you said something that I think resonates with a lot of listeners or people right now in general. A lot of folks are disenchanted with the voting process or our democratic systems that are traditionally navigated, the voting process. Um, and that's hard when that's the tool that we utilize to get people in positions who are supposed to be representative of us to make decisions on legislation and policy that can really change and shake up these systems. So for the populace to be disenchanted with the tools that need to be used to actually move forward change, that's tough. That's tough because how do you get a group of people to buy into a process that inherently was built to destroy or oppress them? That's a lot to be up
Mm-hmm.
against.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's a
yeah,
big.
yeah, yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And all of that being said, like this was something I personally struggled with myself as someone who worked for Bernie in 2016, and also like you would have thought you actually did think that I worked for him in 2020, like the way that I was
I did. I thought you
with
did.
some
Yeah.
other comrades. You're running this office on the east side of Cleveland. We were very invested, as a lot of Clevelanders and a lot of people. I was, I right, but I think that, like you said, that these are the tools that we have, and we, I we need to use them, especially when, and this is something I'm actually working on with a collective within CPUSA right now, is some kind of media campaign that will really break down um, what is to be gained and what's at risk of loss if we do vote for, if we don't show up and vote for Biden.
Right.
Is a clear distinction between him. I mean, Biden is a part of a larger party that generally tends to, tries to, wants to have our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So, and we
They're just
can't
a
say,
party of placaters, though. That's my problem. It's a party of
yeah,
placaters.
I mean, yeah, it's an entire mess. But also, I think that um, what we're learning now is that the electoral process is not the only way forward. We have to organize as workers, as neighborhoods, as communities,
Speak on it.
as families. Yeah, we have to supplement the electoral process with other movements,
Yeah, we do.
and like, let's see, the jail coalition, for example. You see that in um, the Ellipsis Institute came to mind. You see that there's a lot of like local organizing that's
Yeah.
happening. Especially that it's very important that we support those things, and we learn about other ways to struggle together to make change.
I mean,
Um,
I know why, but why is it important that we organize in terms of labor and education and as residents and neighbors? Why is that even important?
I mean, just because we hold collective power, I would say, um, and beyond that, like at the root of it, we are only like as strong as our neighbors and with our. So I learned this other thing that kind of eventually just got really weird, in the electoral like campaigning process, is doing these blind phone calls, canvassing which is going door to door in the neighborhood and people know who your organization should vote for. Um, it's hard to, people don't trust some stranger coming up to their door once every election cycle telling them who to vote for. But if I'm knocking on their door as a neighbor every so often, like, hey, there's like a neighborhood network night this week. Do you want to
Yeah.
come? Hey, there's June celebration in the park this week, or there's like, I'm just hanging out in the park. So if we build those communications on a day, or trust you, and the ask may not even come, but you're building an actual connection in a community, and then a network, and then an actual force to be reckoned with. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what you just established, I mean, what you just described is like actual engagement. Like you're building rapport, establishing trust. You're building a relationship with community, not just coming to community when you want something, when you're asking with your hands open,
Mhm.
hey, give me your information, give me your data, give me your opinions, and see you in 6 months. Like that's not sustainable, nor is it fair to community to only feel like you're being poached and not feel like you're being included, to only feel like you're being information extracted from you, and not to feel like you're genuinely being heard to influence policy and legislation. If I did that in my capacity in community development, if I only talk to community when there's a development, that's a one-sided relationship. That's not reciprocity. That's not mutually beneficial. And I think we need to think about that as organizers, as bridge builders, as neighbors, how we harness that collective power and know that we have power. So being gatekeepers to that power and understanding that who we give access to needs to be worthy of it, whether it's a politician, a developer, another neighbor, understanding our value and the value that our collective power holds, and holding people accountable to when they do tap into it, they better utilize it for the benefit of my greater good, which includes Black and brown and different disenfranchised folks. So yeah. That leads me to some curiosity about this Spectre podcast. You said it was for race, culture, and class. Like, where can folks hear that? Where are you streaming, or where is it available?
Spectre is on every single platform, from Stitcher to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of them. You can even on cpusa.org. You can type in the Spectre. It's everywhere, so check it out. We can't say we have something coming out every week, but we are doing our best. As we, everyone's work. People have a lot going on, but yeah, that's
How
where
do
you
you
can
spell
find it.
that? Spectre.
What's that?
How do you spell Spectre?
What was that?
Spectre. How do you spell it?
SPCTER. So that's like the specter of communism is haunting the world, basically. That's the first line of
Nice. Thank you. I just want to make sure that people know where to contact you when they're ready to tap in. Yeah.
If I could share, like, I just realized so in all of latest, like, world developments, there's been a call for defunding police, and a lot of people have learned about um, Alex Vitale. He wrote a book on defunding the police, on this, have some topics that are pretty relevant to what's going on right now that we discussed. How Cuba handled COVID-19, which is amazing compared to us just because of their healthcare structure. So we have a lot of interesting topics being discussed, and I've learned a lot by facilitating some of those conversations. So I definitely do encourage people to check it out. Tell me what you think, ask questions, all of the things.
I'm excited about that. I can't wait to tap in and listen to a couple episodes. So one of the things that I've experienced, and a couple of organizers that I know have shared with me their personal experiences as well, and professional experiences. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on this, but it's really like, I don't know how else to describe it, but to say what it is, imposter syndrome. Like, in doing this work, there's a lot that comes with it. It's taxing. Self-care of organizers is always something that's at the forefront of a lot of conversations that I've been involved in the last 3 years, to prevent burnout and the mental health implications of working so diligently and committed to people. Sometimes it's hard, it gets heavy, and there are all types of things that try to play on your mental to dissuade you from doing that work. Have you ever experienced, or do you understand the concept of imposter syndrome, and how has it shown up for you, and how have you been able to navigate those falsities that come up with imposter syndrome? Well, first let's define it before we talk about it. Like, what does imposter syndrome mean to you?
I was thinking about what the actual definition is. I mean, I would guess that
I can Google it if you want textbook.
Yeah, that never hurt anybody. So, the imposter syndrome, I mean, is, like you said, like a falsity that can infiltrate your thoughts um, and how you show up in specific in spaces, some being personal or professional. That and it tells you that women of color,
So I got the Google.
um,
I got the
and
Google.
probably even more so black women. So um,
Like I'm losing you a little bit, Aleena. I can't hear some of this awesome stuff
let's
you're
hear
saying.
it.
But can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me because you're frozen a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and say the definition
And
of imposter syndrome. You can hear me?
I,
Okay. So imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon or imposterism or fraud syndrome or the imposter experience, is a psychological pattern which one doubts one's accomplishments and has persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite external evidence of their competence, those experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve all they have achieved. That's like the basic baseline definition of imposter syndrome. And I think it's interesting that those that do this type of base building, organizing work experience this. And again, this is from personal interactions and experience that I've heard people share this with me. I've experienced it myself. And it really womps. Like it sucks because again, like that definition said, you have all this external evidence that shows you that you are doing valuable things, that you are valued and affirming conversations and tangible impact that you can show. But there's still these moments that persist of doubt and questioning your competence, um, your confidence being undermined, and feeling like you're going to be exposed to someone who isn't worthy of doing this work or isn't actually doing the work. That's crazy to me because it's afflicting those who are actually doing the work. Like, isn't that
it's
ironic?
not.
Like, isn't that ironic?
And I
And
want to,
because I think it's because we never feel like we're doing enough, and that's nuts.
yeah, yeah. Um, as a communist, I guess I always kind of want to say like it's because of capitalism, but like capitalist values do support production and like perfectionism and able-bodied, all of these things that are either sustainable or only. I mean, it's really just to work us to produce a profit. So I think that kind of stems from that, like that level of that being the bar.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so realize that we are just, as Audre Lorde says, as like Claudia Jones or um, other Black radicals uh, share with us, like existing is revolutionary in itself, and that is what I have to remind myself all the time.
yeah, absolutely.
Existing is really doing a lot. I put up with a lot. Like I share a lot. Like I'm open. I share my experiences with others so they can learn. Like, I'm always teaching and always being open to these kind of things. But yes, so yes, I have fully experienced it. Even as recently as last night, I had to lead a leadership training segment uh, on historical dialectical like materialism and all of these things like
What?
within. Okay, right. Um,
What?
being like, but like yeah, but like materialistic dialectics and historical rather, sorry, it's like, yeah, obviously a tongue twister, but like, so imagine, so it's a lot, but it's based on like Marxist Leninists and like the, so it was so hard for me to wrap my head around all of this language and all of this stuff. But then when I started reading it, it's like stuff we already know innately, especially
Mm-hmm.
Black women as organizers. Like, oh yeah, like we are all bound by nature. Duh.
Right,
He just
right,
decided to call it materialism. So if someone else were decided to come up with this material, it could be called something else. But because Marx had this education and this platform of privilege, and he happened to be white, that is, you know, what language in this. So
right.
I mean, it's just, I think knowing that like that language and like how we communicate like between me and you is like is enough.
Yeah,
That those kind of things help me, just recognizing like who I am is enough.
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
the, no matter like what I'm doing, no
Right,
matter how many meetings I show up, how many protests I lead, how much money I donate to a cause, how many BLM t-shirts I buy, you know,
right.
me, yeah, so like again, existing is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the personal is political, and like you said, existing is a revolutionary act. So thank God for our ancestors and our creatives and our Black radical women that have left those nuggets for us to chew on as we navigate the path that we go forward on. So I'm very grateful for that. So we're moving into like closing up a little bit, but before we do that, I want to just shoot the shit a little bit and
Hmm.
just see like what are you listening to or what are you reading or what's feeding you right now to keep you on the path of all the things that you're doing, that's so grounded and connected to the service of others. So what are you ingesting that feeds you, whether it's music or something you're watching or listening to or reading? Like, give me a couple of those things.
Okay, okay. Um, right now, via the Better World Book Club, which is run through again the Communist Party here in Cleveland. We meet every Sunday. We're reading Sojourning for Freedom right now, which is just a collection of the history of Black women radicals in the movement, and it just is a full account of all of these people. Like, I mean, they mentioned Claudia Jones a lot in there. I can't really. There's so many people that they are documenting. So I'm learning a lot from that book. It's really affirmed. I've struggled with, like what it means to be a Black woman communist. So this book is kind of helping me with that. Um, let's see. Um, I haven't really been listening. Okay, so I haven't been listening to too much music outside of being at friend's house who forced me to listen to new music.
I don't know. I feel like you're indicting me. I don't know. I feel like you're judging me.
No, it's fine. So yes, but I will say. So I was watching. I May Destroy. Are you familiar?
A what?
I May Destroy You.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I think it. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, nice, nice. So that soundtrack was really great. And then on top of that, like I just so those kind of stories, as kind of heavy as they are, it's you know, I learned a lot from it, and
That was a pretty heavy show too.
yeah, I think they did a good job of like balancing like
They
the
did. They
comedic
did.
French. Yeah, it was perfect in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
soundtrack
good.
good. Um, so yeah, so if I'm listening to music, it's a soundtrack. I'll pick a song and I just create a station. That's how the music these
And
days.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's
Yeah,
why you have people around you that can continue to introduce you to new things that are dope.
right, right. Yeah, I've been listening to Ocean since I left you the other day.
Oh.
So yeah, so I'm trying to get, because I can listen to the same stuff over and over and over and completely okay.
Well, I have gotten a slice of joy out of the fact that you have taken heed to my recommendations and
Yes.
are at least checking them out and vetting them for yourself. So that brings me definitely a slice of joy. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I want to share some things that I'm listening to as well. Let me think. I've been listening to a lot of Alex Isley. And it's definitely Isley, as in Isley brother. She is the granddaughter of one of the great Isley brothers. I've been listening a lot to Kirby, and I've been listening a lot to Oshun and Ruben Vincent, who's a young rapper out of in the camp with like Rhapsody and all of those folks. And reading wise, I am rereading a book called Conscious Capitalism.
Mm.
Conscious Capitalism. It's one of my favorites from my days in my master's in business administration tutelage. And it really is just about how to start an enterprise that really does focus on people, planet, and profit. It's not just about making the money. It's also about how people are prioritized, how the planet is a consideration, and how the business is purpose oriented. So that's something that's really feeding me these days. And it just shows you where my perspective is. I'm definitely more collective than I am about the individual. I will always choose the collective over my own needs. And a lot that I pursue and the way that I curate my life is around the collective, not just the individual. So, thanks for sharing that. The things that are feeding you right now, or things that you're tapping into. So, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about the Communist Party, the Spectre podcast, which is on race, culture, and class, imposter syndrome. You mentioned about a little bit about your work with the Jail Coalition, shared about the book club. You got a lot going on, and so I just appreciate you for being you and showing up as your whole ass Black woman self in the spaces that you occupy. Before we wrap up, tell people how they can connect with you or what you have going on. If there's anything like that that you want to share, I want to give you the space to do that so people can stay connected to this information that you are connected to, so they can be more informed when it comes time to making decisions that impact them. So anything you want to drop off to the village, now's the time to do that. So you got anything to drop off?
All right, sure. Yeah, everyone can follow me if they want on Instagram at AlBenSure, AlBeensure. Also follow the Spectre on Instagram, and I think that's the Spectre ER_CPUSA. And then also, I'd like to invite everyone to the book club. It's a Better Word Club. You can type that in on Facebook. It should pop up, or just reach out to me on Instagram. I can plug you. It's every Sunday at 5, like 5 to 6. We read, and it's a good time. I would honestly, if you're listening and you're a Black woman or a Black man, please join us, because it's like 1 to 2 of us. So we need you. Yeah, so that's it.
We need you. We need you. I feel that we need you. Um, so man, that's really all I had, Aleena. I'm so grateful that we finally had an opportunity before the pod to connect in person on an organic, a real level, and like look each other eye to eye and like see each other a little bit more. I'm really appreciative of that because I know that I could tap into you in the future for a plethora of things. But I just want to make sure people know to make sure you're following us on Instagram at Village Perspective. Look us up on YouTube. Soon I'll have our own page, but right now it's on my page, Bianca Michelle. Check us out on all the streaming platforms. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. All you have to do is search Village Perspective and those things will come up. You can check us out on all the different platforms on Anchor. Hey, this is our space. This is our space to curate. I'm just the vessel and the facilitator of these conversations and the curator of this space, but I do this for us. So I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna sign out by encouraging everybody, every listener, every voice or every ear under my voice. I'm encouraging you to be kind to yourself. I would love for you to be patient with others. Once you do those two things, go out there and be great. And you know what? If you choose, it's your free will to decide. But if you choose, go ahead and go with God. So I'm your girl, Bianca Michelle. That was my girl, Aleena Starks, here with us on the podcast today. And, before we go out, before we leave, we always like to do our best to share some local music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who'd you play earlier? Damn it.
You play that belongs to. Yeah, everything froze, so I'm not gonna test the technology, guys, with trying to play this music. I'm gonna just let it lie as it is. But we were trying to share some music with y'all from the local tip, but I don't want no problems right now. So I guess we're just gonna go out the
Right.
same way we came in. And hey man, y'all go out there. Y'all just like I said earlier, be kind to yourself. Be patient with others. Go out there and be great. And if you choose, go with God. My sister, thank you so much for your energy, sharing your talent,
Thank
your time, and your treasure with us on the pod. I know this is not the end of a conversation, but the beginning of a much longer and deeper one. So I appreciate you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you seeing something in me that, wanted to be talked about and explored. So
No doubt.
I appreciate this budding relationship. I'll see you around
No
and
doubt.
have a great
No doubt.
weekend.
I'll see you real soon. I'll see you real soon. Tell the people peace. Tell the people peace.
I don't know if I should
Peace,
leave.
y'all.